Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, July 8, 2016. Join us in the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are here to give you carefully gathered stories, assuring you of accurate, truthful, and balanced newscasts. I am Darlene Basingan, sitting in for Gerry Alcantara.
We are also seen in 1,360 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through www.untvweb.com. And this is
Why News.
Here are the headlines. Typhoon Nepal attack causes massive devastation in Taiwan. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council alerts flood and landslide-prone areas as the country continues to experience rains due to habagat. President Rodrigo Duterte implements several reforms and policies on his first week in office.
The camp of former President Benigno Aquino III calls a case filed against them as a continuing harassment. And 4 police officers were killed in a shooting incident in Dallas, Texas.
First in the news, Typhoon Buchoy exits the Philippine area of responsibility but still intensifies the southwest monsoon. Rosalie Cos is at Quezon City to tell us why.
Good evening. Typhoon Buchoy has crossed southern Taiwan and continued to move farther from the Philippines, but it still intensifies the southwest monsoon. All tropical cyclone warning signals are now lifted. Based on the latest report of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA, at 4 p.m. today, the eye of Typhoon Buchoy was located at 365 kilometers northwest of Itbayat, Batanes. Although already out of the country, Typhoon Buchoy will continue to enhance the southwest monsoon, which will bring moderate to occasionally heavy rains over the provinces of Metro Manila, Cavite, Laguna, Zambales, Bataan, Batangas, Pangasinan, Calamian groups of islands, and Mindoro. Fisher folks are advised not to venture out of the seaboards of northern Luzon and the western seaboards of central and southern Luzon. The State Weather Bureau advises everyone to take precautionary measures against possible flash floods and landslides. Brace for a rainy weekend and keep yourself updated with the latest weather condition. That is our latest weather update. Back to studio.
Thank you for that report, Rosalie Cos, reporting from Quezon City. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, has alerted local government units in provinces with high chances of landslide because of continuous heavy rainfall. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Landslide and severe flooding. These are some of the possible scenarios for areas that have been experiencing continuous heavy rain in the past few days and may continue to do so until tomorrow because of southwest monsoon rains being intensified by Typhoon Buchoy. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said central and southern Luzon, including Metro Manila, are affected. 4 regions are being closely monitored by NDRRMC: Regions 3, 4A, 4B, and Cordillera Administrative Region. NDRRMC has alerted the concerned local government units.
But we are ready. Our local disaster risk reduction management councils are ready. They are in fact doing the necessary actions that have to be undertaken.
Zambales and Bataan, which are under red rainfall warning or serious threat of floodings and landslide, will be severely affected. In Zambales, more than 100 individuals have already been sent to evacuation centers. In Batangas, some parts of the city have experienced flooding, causing some families to be evacuated. NDRRMC has no report yet of damages and casualties. NDRRMC Executive Director Undersecretary Ricardo Halad reminds everyone to be vigilant and get updated with the weather condition.
Mag-ingat pa rin, maging mapagmatyag, i-monitor ang situation, lalo na dito sa mga lugar na posibleng uulan yan ng medyo malakas starting this afternoon, and this yan ay maaari magsimula late in the afternoon and magpapatuloy hanggang bukas ng umaga.
Rosalie Cos reporting for Wine News.
The city government of Manila will face another challenge after the storm, and that is cleaning the Manila Bay area. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Strong waves were pounding the seawall along Rojas Boulevard because of the storm. The waves also brought with it garbage from nearby areas. Scavengers took advantage of the situation to get plastic items that they could sell. This group, on the other hand, was busy getting the bamboos that were also swept up by the current to the Manila Bay.
Para sa amin, pang gawa rin ng kulungan ng baboy ba?
When the weather calms, the next problem for the city government is taking away the garbage and cleaning up the baywalk and the seaside. In the past, it took several days and plenty of trucks just to get rid of the garbage. Meanwhile, this group of youngsters were enjoying taking a bath at sea despite strong waves and garbage.
Sarap! Sarap? Lalo na malakas alon.
Wala bang bisita sa inyo pag naliligo kayo dyan?
Wala po. Taga rito po kami. Ba't yung mga Coast Guard nawawala?
Meanwhile, people residing at the shorelines and in flood-prone areas in Manila did not evacuate even if it was raining overnight. The evacuation center in Delpan that can house 1,000 families was still empty as of noon today. However, members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Manila Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office are still on standby in case a situation arises. Also on standby are amphibian trucks and rescue boats.
On alert kami, on standby. Once na may pagbabago, tumaas sa tubig na kailangan ilikas, naka-ready kami.
Victor Cosare reporting for Y News.
Typhoon Bochoy caused suspension of classes and work in government offices. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Because of the continuous rainfall due to Typhoon Bochoy with the international name Nepertak, work in government offices and classes at all levels in the National Capital Region were suspended at 1 o'clock this afternoon. The order was issued through Memorandum Circular No. 2 by Malacanang, which was signed by Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea. Senior Associate and Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio ordered work suspension in all courts in the country, including the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, Court of Tax Appeals, and the Sandigan Bayan. Areas in Metro Manila where classes were suspended in all levels include Antipolo City, Parañaque City, Pasig City, and Taguig City. All class levels were also suspended in the provinces of Bataan, Agoncillo, Batangas, Cavite Province, Angono Rizal, Antipolo City Rizal, Binangonan Rizal, Cainta Rizal, San Mateo Rizal, Taytay Rizal, Olongapo City Zambales, and Subic Zambales. From preschool to high school in public and private schools in Metro Manila are also suspended in Caloocan City, Las Piñas City, Mandaluyong City, Manila City, Marikina City, Makati City, Navotas City, Pasay City, Quezon City, San Juan City, and Valenzuela City. And in provinces of Maykawayan City, Bulacan, Obando, Bulacan, San Pablo City, Laguna, and San Pedro City, Laguna. Classes and office operations in all levels of colleges and universities were also suspended in UP Diliman, University of Santo Tomas, De La Salle College of St. Benilde and De La Salle University Manila, Adamson University, San Sebastian College, National University, Jose Rizal University, Microasia College, St. Paul University Manila, and Far Eastern University Diliman. Meanwhile, some parts of Bataan and Olongapo City are already flooded because of heavy rainfall. The flood is already at knee level, particularly in Barangay Santa Rita and East Bahak-Bahak, where flood water have reached inside their homes. Officials of the Barangay Balon Anito in Mariveles, Bataan have put ropes in bypass roads near the river so that residents can cross in case the river overflows because of the continuous rainfall. Regional Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council of Calabarzon is strictly monitoring the situation of the region, including the flood and landslide-prone areas. There are no recorded flooded places in the region yet, but the local government units have suspended the classes to prevent students from being stranded. In NCR, the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority has prepared libreng sakay tracks for those who will be stranded in flood-prone areas in the city. The Secretary of Transportation and the LTFRB Chair ordered the city bus operators to assure regular operation to prevent inconvenience for the commuting public. Aiko Miguel reporting for Y News.
Super Typhoon Nepartak has caused serious and widespread damage in Taiwan. Yoshiko Sata will tell us why.
Super Typhoon Nepartak caused massive devastation in Taiwan as soon as it made landfall this morning. Despite slowing down over Taitung County, the typhoon has brought torrential rains in Taiwan, and authorities fear this would result in severe floods and a number of landslides. 2 people have died while 66 others were injured. Transportation facilities have been suspended, while schools and offices remained closed. Likewise, financial markets were also shut down. Most domestic flights have been grounded, and 365 international flights were affected at Taipei's 2 main airports. Strong winds have damaged most houses and overturned several vehicles.
Kanina pong umaga, malakas po yung hangin at saka yung ulan. Tapos nawala po yung kuryente. Mga gabi po nawala na yung kuryente hanggang umaga. Tapos nagkaroon lang po sandali, tapos nawala na naman po.
Around 5:45, ganun po, kasi pagising ko na ang ano yung lakas na ng hangin, as in talagang malakas na siya. Hindi ko na nga po hindi ko na nabuksan yung gate namin, saka yung mga bintana, saka yung pintuan, sir. Dito sa sa kapitbahay namin, lumipad yung yung bubong niya. Yun lang, saka may mga naputol na kahoy.
So far, reports said power supply has been restored in over 130,000 households, but still, about 150,000 others have no electricity. Water supply has been restored as well to over 2,500 households in affected area. Meanwhile, the Kaohsiung city government and nearby areas have declared suspension of work and classes until tomorrow. According to Attorney Mario Molina, they have yet to receive reports on whether there are Filipinos injured or killed during the storm.
Nakaasa kami sa reports ng brokers, and so far, wala pa naman reports ng kung ano man casualties. We have always been doing this pagka may mga reports, pumapasok naman kagad sa amin, at once na medyo secure na ang weather, nakakapag after typhoon assistance kami.
Typhoon Nepartak is the first and so far the strongest typhoon that made a landfall in the country in the past 5 years. Typhoon Nepartak is expected to make its landfall in China tomorrow. Together with the Taiwan news team, Yoshiko Sata, reporting for Y News.
Aside from reforms and foreign policies that needs implementation, President Rodrigo Duterte's first week in office centered primarily on the issue of illegal drugs. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
On his first week in office, President Rodrigo faced a number of issues, reforms, and policies which were immediately put into implementation by the new administration. President Rodrigo Duterte took his oath as the 16th President of the Republic of the Philippines at midday of June 30.
I, Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
This was followed by the oath-taking of the members of his cabinet. And on the same day, the first cabinet meeting of the Duterte administration was held. Policies which aimed to ease the flow of traffic in Metro Manila and some foreign policies were among the first in the agenda. The President, on the other hand, spent his night mingling with the residents of Tondo, Manila in a gathering dubbed as the Solidarity Dinner. The first memorandum circular was also released on the same day, where coterminous government employees were all directed to stay in their jobs until July 31 to maintain apt service in the government as the new administration assumes office. July 1, President Duterte led the ceremonies in the change of command rights of the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The President also witnessed the turnover of leadership of the Presidential Security Group on July 2. On Sunday, the President traveled back to Davao City to rest and welcome well-wishers. July 4, Monday, President Duterte met with Vice President Leni Robredo in a courtesy call at Malacanang, after which the second cabinet meeting was then held. The first executive order was also released, which aims to simplify government-rendered services through the reorganization of the Office of the President. July 5, the President attended for the first time the anniversary of the Philippine Air Force at Clark Air Base in Pampanga.
And I'd like to name publicly General Marcelo Garbo. He was a protector of the drug syndicates in this country.
In his speech, the President named the 5 generals of the Philippine National Police who are said to be protectors of illegal drug operations. On July 7, before the first week of the new administration ends, few details were laid to the public by the President in relation to the high-level Chinese triad identified as a big-time drug syndicate in the country.
So ito sila, pag nalaman na nandito, they better come up with something that is really very good. We have a mayor there, maraming mayor dito. We have the mayor sa Mindanao, puro mayor, may babae pa.
Before the first week of the Duterte administration ends, President Duterte granted Vice President Leni Robredo the position as head of the Housing and Urban Development Authority, or HUDC. The draft of the executive order on the implementation of freedom of information to the government was also finalized and is expected to get approved by next week. The new administration was already able to release an executive order, 2 memorandum circulars, and 6 proclamations in its first whole week. Nel Maribuhok reporting for Y News.
After being appointed by President Rodrigo Duterte as Housing Czar, Vice President Leni Robredo vows to focus on the 1.5 million housing backlog of the government. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Vice President Leni Robredo today started her work as chairman of the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, or HUDC. After her press conference this afternoon, she then had a meeting with the HUDC to discuss what will be their priorities for the next 6 years. Robredo says she wants to meet the 1.4 million housing backlog of the government. These include the homeless people because of calamity and the informal settlers. If needed, the Vice President will ask for an additional budget for the agency to finish all the housing project, especially since, aside from the backlog, they want to meet the 5.5 million housing project for the next 6 years. Robredo adds that she will do all she can for the Filipinos to have decent houses, because this has been also the advocacy of her late husband, former DILG Secretary Jesse Robredo. Robredo told the media some points of her conversation with the President. She says that on the day that she visited President Duterte in Malacanang, the President told her that he wants her to be part of his cabinet. This is why she wasn't any more surprised when the President called and appointed her as Housing Czar yesterday, and she right away accepted the position.
Actually, nung sinabi niya na kung gusto kong housing, ang sabi ko sa kanya, oo naman po, kasi matagal na po naming advokasya yan nung yumao kong asawa. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, okay po Mr. President, next week po, magpapaset ako ng schedule dyan sa inyo, sa office nyo, bibisitahin ko po kayo para pag-usapan yung parameters. O sabi ko, kung busy po kayo, kahit si Sec Bong na lang. Parang ang sinagot niya sa akin, parang hindi na kailangan or saka na, basta parang tanggapin na. Something to that effect.
The Vice President believes that the courtesy call she did makes President changed his mind. She says she respects and understands the previous statement of the President that he will not give her any cabinet post because the President didn't know her personally. The VP assures that she will do her best for the position that the President gave her and she will support the Chief Executive through and through. Grace Castro reporting for Y News.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government targets to release the result of its investigation on the generals alleged as protectors of illegal drug operations, preferably before the end of July. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government aims to come up with an immediately result in its investigation on the generals dubbed as protectors of illegal drug operations in the country. In an interview with the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon this morning, Interior Secretary Mike Sueno said his department is targeting to finish its investigation and release the result by the end of July.
Kasi administrative lang iman yung sa amin eh. So yung the rest yung criminal sa korte na yan.
Yes.
In case proven guilty, the said officials may be dismissed from active service and be removed of any service benefits. The agency is also finalizing the list of names of local government officials who are allegedly involved in illegal drug operations in the country. Sueno said they are planning to complete the list on July 20. Then it will be compared to the list that is in the possession of President Rodrigo Duterte.
He has his own list. We have our own list, DILG, you know.
Sueno said the president has a wide intelligence network and he has a lot of sources, so he is sure of his evidence against the accused. Meanwhile, Sueno said they are planning to meet with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF to discuss the measures to combat illegal drugs among the Muslim communities.
Ang problema namin sa drive against drug lords sa Mindanao is lalo na kung sila nandoon sa Maguindanao, MILF area. So baka we are very careful na hindi mangyari yung Mama Sapano incident, no? So we are clearing this out with the MILF.
Secretary Sueno is in favor of arming all barangay police as they are the first to respond when there are crimes in their communities. However, they must undergo intensive training together with the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines before they are issued firearms.
Sa mga barangays natin ngayon, walang pulis. So kung may mangyari doon, alangan sigawan lang nila, no?
Sueno asserted that he will make sure to do his job with all honesty and he will not be swayed even with a series of threats in his life.
Marami na ho ba kayong death threat?
Meron na. Meron na.
Paano ho bang sabi sa inyo?
Ang iba, ang death threat, no? Kasi may nag-o-offer. Sabi niya, Sek, bigyan ka namin weekly ng yung parang payola.
Aiko Miguel reporting for Y News.
The PNP Anti-Illegal Drugs Group is hoping that the Department of Justice will retract the dismissal of the case against Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
The PNP Anti-Illegal Drugs Group and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency is hoping that the Department of Justice will retract its previous decision to dismiss the case against Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino and Yan Yishu alias Randy. On June 28, the PNP-AIDG filed a joint omnibus motion to DOJ, arguing that there was a probable cause or enough evidence. The motion was filed together with a recorded conversation between Lieutenant Colonel Marcelino and alias Randy using mobile numbers 0916-417-7088 and 0917-566-8266 respectively. The data was acquired from the PNP Anti-Cybercrime Group.
Nag-adduce tayo ng additional evidence in support of our assertion that Colonel Marcelino and Yan Yishu should be held liable for violation ng RA 9165.
Based on their conversation dated January 19 at 10:38 a.m., Marcelino was telling Randy that Pidea was looking for a person and feared that the target might be Randy himself. They were talking about an item which they were planning to hand over to a certain Tony. They were discussing some safety measures so as not to be caught by operatives from AIDSOT, now AIDG. At the time when Marcelino and Randy were caught inside the Celadon townhouse turned Shabu laboratory in Santa Cruz, Manila, Marcelino called for help over the phone from certain official with a codename Perseus at around 1:33 in the morning. After verification on the phone number of codename Perseus, it was found out that the number was owned by former ISAP's chief, Lieutenant General Eduardo Año. Based on their conversation, Marcelino was begging Perseus to call AFP Chief of Staff General Hernando Iriberri and tell the latter that Marcelino was on a legitimate operation that time. Marcelino was being pinned as suspect by PIDEA Director General Arturo Cacdac Jr. and the officer was planning to reveal Marcelino to the media. But codename Perseus refused Marcelino's plea, saying Marcelino had no authority to conduct an operation in the said Shabu laboratory.
Colonel Marcelino so begging na backupan siya. Na-vouch for siya. Aww. Yes, actually he was begging. Aww. And the said Perseus, wala naman siya sinasabi na kinakampihan niya. Actually, sinabi pa nga niya na wala siyang magagawa doon. Dahil parang lumalabas doon, nagsolo si Colonel Marcelino.
Meanwhile, Marcelino's spokesperson believes that recent motion will be nullified and that the first decision of DOJ will be sustained. Lieutenant Colonel Ferdinand Marcelino and Yan Yishu were arrested in a townhouse turned Shabu laboratory where 76 kilograms of Shabu were discovered amounting to 380 million pesos. Leia Ilagan reporting for Y News.
Y News will be right back. President Rodrigo Duterte has appointed a new Director General for Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA. During a speech in an event in Davao City, Duterte named attorney Giling Mamondiong as the new TESDA chief. Mamondiong was the head of the National Executive Coordinating Committee of Duterte's volunteer campaign organization. He also served as an undersecretary of the then Department of Transportation and Communications under the Arroyo administration. He will be replacing former TESDA director and now Senator Joel Villanueva. The Transportation Department expects to have resolved the long queues at the MRT in 100 days. Manokson will tell us why.
One of the changes that the commuter will feel in the next 100 days is the improvement at MRT3. The Transportation Department is eager to shorten the long queues at the stations. 20 trains during rush hour is the ideal number to avoid the long queue. Now, the number of trains do not go below 15 every day.
The parts are coming in. Maintenance providers doing a good job of upping the trains, maintaining the trains. So that's one of the targets and objectives of the new management of DOT.
According to the new Undersecretary for Rail, Noel Quintanar, long queues at the station are an indication of a problem.
Indicator ng success or failure sa MRT3, sa LRT1, sa LRT2, yung pila. Kasi hindi na natin kailangan masyadong i-complicate, ano? Simple lang namang hinihingi ng tao. Mabawasan natin yung pila.
But two things have to be done to maintain the excellent service of MRT: the upgrade of the signaling system and power supply. Quintanar said even if new trains will arrive, they cannot be utilized if the signaling system and power supply will not be upgraded. The power supply and the signaling system are expected to be upgraded in the first quarter of 2017, along with the arrival of the 40 new coaches from China. If this happens, the speed of the trains will increase and there will be a 4-car train on the rails.
Ay 3 ang bagon sa isang tren. Isipin mo kung kinabukasan, 4 na yan. Ibig sabihin mo nadagdagan mo ng 1/3 o 33% increase. Mararamdaman po ng tao yan. So, yun ang habol po talaga namin.
The Transportation Department is now fixing the location where the common station will be constructed. The department assures that it will be constructed in a location that is beneficial to everyone. The Transportation Department is appealing to the commuters to be more patient. Real change is not achieved in only one day. More time is needed plus the cooperation of everyone. Mon Hokson reporting for Y News.
The Judicial and Bar Council has opened the application period for the upcoming vacancies in the judiciary. In the Court of Appeals, the position of Associate Justice Agnes Carpio will be vacant upon her retirement on December 1. In Sandigan Bayan, 2 vacancies will be created by the retirements of Associate Justice Napoleon Inoturan, who will retire this August 1, and Associate Justice Jose Hernandez on November 22. There are also 48 vacancies for judges of family courts in the National Capital Region, Central Luzon, and in Calabarzon and Mimaropa regions. The JBC will accept applications for the said positions until August 23.
The camp of former President Benigno Aquino III regards a complaint filed at the Office of the Ombudsman in relation to the Disbursement Acceleration Program or DAP is a continued harassment. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Former President Benigno Aquino III is unfazed over the complaint filed today by various groups at the Ombudsman in relation to the Disbursement Acceleration Program or DAP. Bayan muna Representative Carlos Zarate, Bagong Alyansang Makabayan Secretary General Renato Reyes, Alliance of Concerned Teachers or ACT, National Chairperson Benjamin Valbuena, Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption or VACC President Dante Jimenez, and several others trooped to the Ombudsman to ask for the filing of cases against Aquino and former Department of Budget and Management Secretary Florencio Abad. They filed complaints of technical malversation, usurpation of legislative functions, and graft against the two for approving the DAP. DAP is a pooled fund from savings taken from projects of various government agencies that is appropriated for another use. The Supreme Court in 2014, however, declared the DAP unconstitutional. The highest court ruled that it is illegal to realign funds which are already allotted by the General Appropriations Act for specific purposes. According to Bayan Secretary General Renato Reyes, now that former President Benigno Aquino III lost his immunity from suit, they can now push for measures to make him criminally liable over DAP.
Lahat ng approval ng pagre-release ng pondo at pag-iipon o pagkukuha ng savings sa lahat ng memorandum kaugnay ng DAP, merong pirma ang Pangulo. Ibig sabihin, siya ang nag-approve, siya ang nagpapa-implement. At sana po, magkaroon ng pananagutan. Ngayon lang po namin magagawa to. We wanted to have accountability nung panahon ng impeachment pero hindi kami pinayagan ng Kongreso na dominated ng Liberal Party.
Aside from this complaint, the Ombudsman has started its preliminary investigation on the technical malversation charge filed separately by Greco Bellica, Augusto Sihuco, and former Congressman Teddy Casino against Abad and DBM Undersecretary Mario Lalampagos in relation to DAP. This after the Field Investigation Office or FIO of the Office of the Ombudsman found irregularities in the spending of the said fund. However, the Ombudsman excluded former President Aquino in the investigation.
Hindi lang naman ito kagagawan ni Secretary Abad o ni Mr. Lampagos. No? Sa mga dokumentong naka-attach dito sa aming complaint, kitang-kita, klarong-klaro na merong consent no? si Mr. Aquino doon sa DAP. At in fact, siya mismo ang pumipili kung anong proyekto ang papayagan sa DAP. No? Lalo na makita natin na ang kanyang probinsya mismo sa Tarlac ay pinayagan niyang tumanggap ng pondo mula sa DAP.
According to attorney Abigail Valte, the spokesperson of Aquino, the former president has not yet received a copy of the complaint. She said the action from Bayan is neither surprising nor unexpected, as the group has staged series of protests against Aquino. They added that this is just a part of the continued harassment against the former president. For his part, former Secretary Abad said he will study the complaint before issuing any statement. Joyce Balancho reporting for Y News.
The Department of Foreign Affairs says the Philippines and China have committed to continue strengthening their bilateral relationship. This report will tell us why. Chinese Ambassador Zhao Jinhua paid a courtesy call yesterday to President Rodrigo Duterte, the first after the Philippine leader assumed office. The Foreign Affairs Department says during the courtesy call, the Chinese ambassador and Duterte committed to continue strengthening the friendship of the Philippines and China.
We summarily spoke about our strengthening of our friendship, and we had expressed the hope and the commitment from both sides that notwithstanding the arbitral tribunal or the pending case that we had filed before it and the impending decision that will be coming out on July 12, our friendship will remain the same, and it will continue to even be strengthened.
In the previous years, the two countries had been exchanging strong statements with regard to the West Philippine Sea dispute. But during the courtesy call, Yasay says the Duterte administration committed to refrain from issuing strong statements that would further heighten the tension in the disputed territory, a pronouncement previously expressed by the Foreign Affairs chief. Yasay says President Duterte also assured the ambassador that the Philippines will study first the decision of the International Tribunal on the sea dispute before issuing any statements. Yasay notes that Ambassador Zhao also vowed to not take any action that, in his words, would undermine the friendship of the two countries.
I am very happy to announce that the Chinese ambassador had made that commitment that certainly they will not do or take any action that will undermine our friendship and that will undermine the interests of the Philippines as regards the disputed area.
The Foreign Affairs Secretary once again defended the seemingly softer stance of the Philippines towards Beijing, saying such an approach is in accordance with the Constitution. He further noted that being friendly with China doesn't mean being less friendly with the Philippines' allies known for criticizing Beijing, example of which is the United States. Maritime law expert J. Batongbakal believes the recent action by China shows its commitment to the Duterte administration to not take any destabilizing action, especially as the sea dispute decision will be coming out next week. The DFA also reiterates that the Philippines remains open to have a joint exploration with China on the West Philippine Sea, only if, Yasay says, it is in accordance with the decision of the International Tribunal.
We will be willing to negotiate with everyone within the context of that decision, whatever that decision of the arbitral tribunal will be.
Batongbakal notes that a joint exploration with China may face political and legal challenges, but despite this, it remains to be a positive step for the bilateral relationship of the two countries.
Positive only in the sense that at least there is talk about something parang productive instead of yung antagonism. At least there's some talk of cooperation instead of antagonism.
Darlene Basingan reporting for Y News.
Five police officers were killed while 6 more were injured in a shooting incident during a protest in Dallas, Texas. Marge Navarro will tell us why.
Chaos sparked when an unidentified sniper shot at some police officers at the protest ground in Dallas, Texas. Authorities were engaged in a standoff with the suspect at a parking lot nearby. Dallas Police Chief David Brown said the suspect even threatened to kill more police, saying he even planted a bomb somewhere. 3 were arrested in line with the incident.
The suspect that we are negotiating with, that has exchanged gunfire with us over the last 45 minutes, has told our negotiators that the end is coming, and he's going to hurt and kill more of us.
Authorities said the suspect is not alone. Local reports said there was a loud explosion where the suspect was, although authorities were uncertain about it. The incident prompted airports to cancel flights to Dallas. Aside from Dallas, protest rallies are also being held in Minnesota and Chicago. In Minnesota, hundreds of protesters gathered outside the Minnesota governor's mansion, outraged by the shooting and death of an African-American man named Philando Castile by police. Castile's killing was posted by his girlfriend Diamond Reynolds on live video on the internet minutes afterward. Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton orders a state investigation on the incident. Castile's death occurred within a day of the shooting of 37-year-old Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. U.S. President Barack Obama said that all Americans should be troubled by the recent police shootings of black men in Minnesota and Louisiana.
There are problems across our criminal justice system. There are biases, some conscious and unconscious, that have to be rooted out. When people say Black Lives Matter, that doesn't mean blue lives don't matter. It just means all lives matter. But right now, the big concern is the fact that the data shows black folks are more vulnerable to these kinds of incidents.
The Washington Post reported that Castile is the 123rd black American killed by white police this year. Marge Navarro reporting for Y News.
Recent militant attacks in Bangladesh prompts tighter security in Dhaka as residents worry about their safety. Meanwhile, South Korea says it has made a final decision together with the United States to deploy an advanced missile defense system. Tell us why, Ann Nunez.
In South Korea and the United States said today they had decided to deploy an advanced missile defense system with the U.S. military stationed in South Korea to counter North Korea's missile threat. South Korea's Defense Ministry and the U.S. Defense Department said the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, anti-missile system will deploy solely to counter the threat from the north. South Korea says it aims for a deployment soon. According to the joint statement, a joint South Korea-U.S. working group is preparing to determine the best location for deploying THAAD. U.S. Forces Korea, or USFK, includes 28,500 U.S. troops based in South Korea. In China, a landslide that has killed 35 people cut off roads, electricity, and telecommunications in a remote village county in northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. According to the region's publicity office, as the village, deep in the Kunlun Mountains, has lost contact with the outside, rescuers had to ride donkeys or walk to the site. The rain-triggered landslide struck the village in Kokyar Township in Yecheng County of Kashgar Prefecture in small hours of Wednesday, burying houses and the occupants. The mud flow hit nearly 1,500 cubic meters per second. The rescue operation is still underway. In Bangladesh, security was tightened in Dhaka today after recent militant attacks in Bangladesh. On July 1, Islamist militants killed 20 people, including at least 9 Italians, 7 Japanese, and an American, inside an upmarket restaurant in Bangladesh's capital, before security forces stormed the building and ended a 12-hour standoff on July 2. Militants attacked Bangladesh yesterday, police guarding the country's biggest festival in Kishoriganj, marking the end of Ramadan, killing 3 people and wounding 14. Residents condemned the attacks, said they were worried about their safety. The attacks is the latest in a surge in militant violence in the South Asian nation of 160 million that threatens lives as well as its economic well-being. Ann is reporting for Y News.
France has booked its place in the Euro 2016 finals against Portugal. Aaron Romero tells us why.
2 goals from Antoine Griezmann helped hosts France overcome world champions Germany 2-0 on Thursday. to reach the final of Euro 2016, a first competitive victory over their old rivals in 58 years. The opening goal arrived in stoppage time when Italian referee Nicola Rizzoli spotted Bastian Schweinsteiger head-handled as he challenged Patrice Evra in the air, and the tournament's top scorer Griezmann stepped up to blast the ball home. Griezmann then poked in his 6th goal of the competition with 18 minutes remaining after keeper Manuel Neuer flapped at a cross as France wrapped up their first win over Germany at a major tournament since the 1958 World Cup. Overjoyed fans and locals in different French cities celebrated as Team France made this one for the books. Crowds gathered in Marseille, Vieux-Port, Stade Velodrome, and the historic Arc de Triomphe. Even the Eiffel Tower lit up in celebration. France will face Portugal at Stade de France in Euro 2016 final on Sunday, July 10, 8 p.m. Greater Meridian Time, which is July 11th, 3 a.m. Philippine Time. Aaron Romero reporting for Y News.
The Soyuz MS spacecraft carrying a new crew blasts off to the International Space Station. Precious Song tells us why.
A 3-member multinational crew blasted off aboard a Russian Soyuz rocket from Kazakhstan on Thursday for a 2-day trip to the International Space Station, a NASA TV broadcast showed. NASA astronaut Kathleen Kate Rubins, Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin, and Japanese astronaut Takuya Onishi lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The crew is due to arrive today at the station, which orbits about 250 miles above the Earth, to begin a 4-month mission. Rubins, Ivanishin, and Onishi will join NASA astronaut and station commander Jeff Williams and 2 Russian cosmonauts who have been aboard the orbital outpost since March. The launch marked the debut flight of a next-generation Russian Soyuz capsule, currently the only vehicle capable of ferrying astronauts and cosmonauts to and from the station, a $100 billion project of 15 countries. NASA hopes to resume flying astronauts from the United States in 2018, aboard capsules under development by the Boeing Company and privately owned Space Exploration Technologies, or SpaceX. Precious Ong reporting for Y News.
Those are the reasons behind the news, July 8, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Darlene Basingan sitting in for Gerry Alcantara.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching
Y News.